Welcome to the Iridium Conversations, a podcast where we explore how using NLP can help coaches access excellence in every conversation that they have. My name is Misha Bajaj, and I'm a partner at Iridium. I am also an ICF PCC coach and a Marshall Goldsmith stakeholder centered coach. I'm also an NLP trainer, and I do hope that we are able to help you as a coach. I'm going to bring in the perspective from the coach's world into this conversation.
Hi, my name is Nikhil Damle, and I'm not yet a credentialed coach from an ICF perspective, but I'm an NLP trainer, and I'm also on the track to be an NLP master trainer. So I'm really hoping that through this podcast, we can clarify how to our listeners, how NLP can be an enabler in your coaching practice, and that's really what we're hoping to do.
So let's dive in. Hello, everyone. My name is Misha Bajaj, and today we are starting our podcast series called the Iridium Conversations. I'm joined here by my partner Nikhil Damle, who is going to be talking to us about how NLP can be used for creating deeper conversations as a coach.
I'm really
Hello,
excited
Nikhil.
that I'm really excited we are starting this series today. We've spoken about it for a long time. So what is going to come out of having this conversation, which is an intersection of how coaching is relevant to people that are credentialed ICF coaches, but also how can sort of NLP come into the mix with that. So I'm really glad that we are getting this started.
Super. And just for everyone else's reference, Nikhil is like an encyclopedia on NLP. So we are actually going to be almost geeking out on NLP today.
And Misha is going to keep me honest in terms of not going overboard with it, but we are going to try and make sure that we bring the focus back to what this is about, which is how it can make a difference to coaches and people in coaching roles.
Well said. So the topic for today's conversation is beyond the script, integrating NLP into masterful coaching. Okay. And my first question to you, Nikhil, really is that, as coaches, we are constantly looking for ways to deepen our practice. And it's all in the service of the client, right? But there's one thing that kind of floats around in our circles, which is sometimes with curiosity, sometimes with a little bit of skepticism about how NLP can be used in coaching. Is it just scripts and techniques, or is it more than that?
Is it
what do you
scripts
think
or
about
techniques?
Yeah.
I remember this quote by Richard Bandler that NLP is a attitude, it's a temperament which leaves behind a trail of tools and techniques, right? And I'd like to think it is like that. So it's natural for a lot of coaches, especially in coach training, to get introduced to different kinds of methods, tools, techniques from NLP. And many people come to us with that kind of an introduction that I know this technique and I know neurological levels or something else. By themselves, those are sort of interesting things to use in a coaching conversation. But if we had to sort of say that all of NLP is essentially a set of tools and techniques, it will be a little bit misleading. It'll be like thinking that somebody who's a very good oven technician is the equivalent of a baker. So like in COVID, so many people became bakers, right? So, but the idea is really that what can happen when a technique works and what to do when a technique doesn't work, or in which situation might a different technique be of help. For that, I think there is a little bit of an underlying understanding of the process based on, or process or the principle based on which a technique is working. It's a little bit like, when we think about how might riding a bicycle work for someone. that can be a very different kind of a process. Like, luckily for me, I never fell while learning to ride the bicycle. After learning to ride it, the first thing that I did, I fell. But someone else might have a different method of pedaling and sitting on it, and somebody else may keep a stone and then sit on the cycle and then start pedaling. But balance is a process which, until you hit balance, then you can't say, anything which is two-wheeled, whether it's a scooter or a cycle, you'll be able to ride it. So to say that NLP is a set of tools and techniques would be sort of limiting the scope of what is possible with NLP. I would say it's a way of cultivating know-how of looking into clients' experience, because coaching is a very client-centered process. And in that sense, NLP is aligned to that idea that you can learn all the tools and techniques, but at the end of the day, none of them matter because you're focused on what will work for the client. And so that's the way I would say that it doesn't end with the tools and techniques that have been created out of NLP. In fact, NLP is about continuing to evolve and create new tools and techniques. So coaches that might use NLP might find that they'll find a lot more room for innovating coaching conversations and the approaches to coaching conversations if they get introduced to imbibing and learning the processes of NLP.
Got it. So you mean that it's not really about the techniques and processes, but it's really about the balance of understanding how the process works and then integrating that into your practice.
Yes.
Right. Now, if I
remember that joke where someone calls a plumber to fix a pipe, and the plumber brings a hammer and hits here, and then hits there, and then hits there, and then finally hits in one place, and the clogged thing gets resolved. And he says, $100. So the person says, well, you just hit in 3-4 places, and how come it is $100? So he said $99 for knowing where to sort of check and hit, and $1 for clearing up the blockage. So NLP processes really allow that know-how to get sort of instilled in the coach.
I think that's a very crucial distinction per se. Where to use it is, and how do you use it is very important. I mean, you can know a lot of things, but are you really able to put it to use where it's really needed is crucial, I think. Now, if I were to, for a second, put on my ICF hat on, Nikhil, how does learning NLP actually aid my coaching practice? I mean, how will it look like? I mean, would I lose my style, and would it become like a NLP driven coaching practice, or how would it show up?
Like how on laptops or PC they write, right? Powered by Intel. So in a way, you could think of it as that. It will become NLP informed, is what I can say. I don't think it will come in the way of inhibiting or creating a hurdle in terms of the style, the unique style, coaching style of the individual. Rather, actually the reverse, that NLP is focused on helping an individual cultivate their own style. So a lot of participants, when they come and learn NLP, and then in this I'm saying, there are coaches also who come and learn NLP. The idea is we teach you NLP in the way we've learned NLP, but we teach you NLP by demonstration, not by here's a book and please read it and come back. But our teaching of NLP by demonstration is not that you do it exactly like how I am doing or how you might show them, but it's to help them cultivate references that here's how I am doing it. Now let's teach you how to take the references and you do it on your own, so that you have access to the references of how to run this process on your own, but it's your unique take on how to do it. It's a little bit like if I went to a drawing class and there's bananas and apples kept there and everyone is making a still drawing out of it, each painting would be still different, although the object is the same. So it would in fact enhance the individual coach's style, and the reliance is more to develop better instinctual understanding of yourself as a coach, and therefore of the client in terms of the process that they're going through right now. or the sort of space, psychological space that they are experiencing while working with the coach. And a little bit of a role in this is also that it's a doing discipline, so it's not a knowing discipline. Even in ICF coaching, you don't just attend a training and get a certificate and that's it, you're free to go. And there's so many hours that have to be put in for coaches to get credentialed. And so the practice of NLP aligns very well with that it is a practice of NLP. The way the certifications are, also the word practitioner is used. And so it is pretty much about doing it, owning it, and then refining it into your own unique style.
Interesting. So doing it, owning it, and refining it into your unique style, then clearly it's not about you being, boxed as one or the other, but you could just create something every time you are actually with a client, depending on what's flowing in the conversation.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And like you said, be informed by NLP rather than using it as a,
correct,
like a script that, okay, I haven't asked this question or I haven't done it this way, but Nikhil showed us this way, so now correct. How do I do it this way? Right. Got that. That's an interesting point. You also talked about psychological space.
Yes.
Right. Now, a large part of the ICF competencies focuses on the coaching presence,
yes.
Right? So,
yes.
Just picking up what we discussed right now, how would it, sort of be visible, or how would the coach come to know that actually, my coaching presence is really changing almost now that I'm informed by NLP and I'm able to use it, I'm able to own it in the way I want to?
I think a lot of times in coaching this phrase is used, right? Holding the space. And I'll add another word to it, which is witnessing. So when we let's say sit in the evening, or we're looking out of the window and let's say there's a sunset happening, or we've gone to the beach and a lot of things are going on, we never say I saw a sunset, we say I witnessed a sunset. Because there's really no way of us predicting, even if we go to the same place and same spot every day, which is like we can be expert in having many coaching conversations, but the next coaching conversation is never the same as the earlier coaching conversation. So the way we go and witness a sunset is, we are not trying to prejudge it.
Yeah.
We are not trying to predict that I think that part is now going to become orange in the sky and then there'll be a streak of clouds here. It never happens like that. Every sunset will be different. So this idea of holding space is really being able to create an environment through listening. And also exercising restraint on when to speak, when to acknowledge, when not to acknowledge. In a sense, then sort of enabling the client to go through their own process of inquiry and discovery. And so really my response to what a client says is like a witness response, right? It's my question or anything that I say to the client is really for the client to notice that, oh, really, have I said that? That's making sense to me. And if this is happening, then I can say that that's a nice way of indicating that space is being held. So a lot of the different ideas that we learn in NLP are on this foundation of how do you hold that space. The other thing is, a lot of the conversation and communication, the way we're taught to learn in NLP is that communication is also non-verbal. And communication that is non-verbal, in fact, is even more reliable because it is unconscious. Just like you wouldn't be able to tell someone, okay, sneeze now. They wouldn't be able to just, will a sneeze or, blink a certain way. And that way, what I can speak can be rehearsed, but the unconscious non-verbal responses can't. And they're fairly more reliable indicator when looked at along with spoken word. All of this is possible to notice when I'm able to keep my world away, I'm able to keep my ideas away. And how to get into this mode is something also that is an intrinsic part of, when we learn NLP. So this whole idea of holding the space is not just about holding the space for the client, but it's like a space held by the coach for themselves, so that then on the foundation of that they can hold that space for the client, in which a lot of this witnessing and playing back is going on.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, we use this phrase "holding space" so much as coaches, right? It's almost abused at this point, I think.
Yes.
But I like the way you sort of linked it to presence, and how we are actually creating like a container for the conversation to take place in, right?
Yes.
And I think that's a beautiful thought. A couple more things that came up in what you just said, Nikhil, was about listening and enabling inquiry and discovery, right?
Yes.
Again, very important ICF competencies. Okay.
Yes.
I love the fact that you said, it's almost like a witness response, right? Now, if I were to, for a minute, even say that yes, NLP is a bunch of tools and techniques,
yes.
How do we link these two? Like,
yes.
presence, listening, enabling inquiry and discovery, and also, witnessing the response that is happening. What are some of the things that NLP can teach us, or some of the things that we can be informed of by using NLP that can help us with all of this?
I think another common thing which is said, which is also one of the presuppositions in NLP is, and this is mentioned in the coaching context a lot also, is that all the resources are within the client. So this is, as much as sometimes when I'm describing this, it might sound abstract, but actually where the role of tools and techniques comes in is, I like to think of it like, if you're climbing a staircase, there is a guardrail that you hold. So if you hold that rail, then it's comfortable to climb up or climb down the stairs. So if we think about the tools and techniques, then we can look at it like that they are a guardrail, because without that guardrail, how do I introduce you to that process? But if I hold that guardrail, then getting used to holding that guardrail, I'll be able to imbibe that process in me. It's a little bit like how we practice, writing pages and pages of cursive writing. And the idea is that there are those red and blue lines, but later in life there are no red and blue lines. We're just used to writing on blank pages.
Correct. Yeah.
So in a way, what is intangible in these words? Because presence could mean different things for different people. But to be able to break it down as a set of internal references for the coach. For some coaches, they might say that before I start my coaching session, I just settle into my chair nicely. I just breathe out like that. I have a sip of water. And I just, for a moment, just stare at a point on the wall. And once I feel that there's no thoughts coming in, I know now I'm ready to start the conversation. And then the client comes in, or I open my Zoom meeting and I then can get into it, right? But if you ask 10 other coaches, they'll have a slightly different way of getting ready for the coaching conversation before it's about to start.
Right.
If we ask them specifically, explicitly to call it out, they may not know, because this just naturally happens over a period of time. People settle into their own style. But these are exactly the references that we are talking about, that even for a client, when one coach is working with them versus another coach is working with them, how does this presence get accessed? And accessed is the key word here, right? Because in a kitchen, we know where is this ingredient and that ingredient, so we can reach out and access. And therefore we know that, if there are these many guests and I have to make this, I have to access this, access that, put in this much quantity, and that's the dish that is prepared. So in a way, NLP can help individually different coaches to figure out, for me, what is presence before I start the conversation. And for me, it might be I take in a deep breath, sip a glass of water, and then just focus on a spot. And that's my way of entering the zone of presence, and I'm ready for the client. But for someone else, it might just be that, my chair is a certain way, and I've just adjusted the laptop like this, and my favorite diary and my pen is right next to me. Now I'm ready for it. So each individual coach could have their own way of accessing presence. And so what NLP helps with is, rather than leave it at the level of we have to establish presence or we have to develop presence, it helps people locate that what are the 4, 5, 3 things.
Yeah.
If I am able to do those together in a sequence and a combination, it gets me into a state of being present.
Yeah, correct.
And so that's the nice thing, that when these kind of words come, another like interesting word is confidence.
Right.
Not necessarily an ICF competency, but
Right.
people like to say that, how do I become confident? And so if I knew what are the ingredients that help me get into a state of confidence, then that's the nice thing about NLP, that each of the competencies in fact can be even more nicely, deliberately accessed in an enriched manner, but in a unique manner of what suits and what is very sort of appropriate for that coach and their individual style.
I think that's a very, very valid point that you mentioned about NLP teaches you how to access that, right? And that is actually giving me the idea that we need to do a separate episode where we link all the competencies with concepts from NLP or tools or techniques or however people understand it. Absolutely. And I guess really it's mostly about the way NLP has been taught.
Yes.
Traditionally, it's been more about scripts and processes. And I guess probably because a lot of people who have learned NLP use it for therapy, or use it for counseling. And I guess what we are trying to establish is that it goes beyond that, right? And how would you elaborate that?
It does go beyond that. Last year NLP completed 50 years of being in existence. Right? So there was an interesting event that was held where the two co-creators, Richard Bandler and Dr. John Grinder, they were interviewed and they were asked about what they've seen happen in NLP and how they see NLP go ahead. And they actually mentioned it that, for a long time, NLP has been looked at from a colored perspective, that you're trained in NLP, that means you must be involved in therapy, counseling, and the origins were that period, that decade when NLP came into existence, a lot of applications were probably focused on that. But over a period of time, there have been applications in business, there have been applications in sports. Certainly a lot of people in the sales domain have found applications for that. In the range of students that we've got, again, it's a very wide range. Some have been students, consultants, doctors, teachers. So like scientists. I said, scientists, athletes, there's one student who's a sports psychologist, and I remember her saying that even though she came from a sports psychologist background, after learning NLP, when she started again working with the athletes, the duration of the conversation became way shorter because she could just quickly get to the heart of what the matter was. But even in as intellectual disciplines as financial planning, I remember one participant coming saying that, I'm very good at financial planning. I can explain the idea very clearly to my client, but I'm struggling because clients are making emotional decisions and not financial ones. And when he learned NLP, he was able to figure out, how are these emotions influencing them, how to navigate those emotions and still help the client arrive at a sound financial decision. So I think, yes, that's a backlog or a sort of, reputation that has existed. I think in many cases, people still look at NLP as, okay, I think if I'm going into therapy or counseling, I can go into that. But that is changing because the applications of NLP are pretty much on an everyday basis, whether when I'm working with my son or my daughter and, school studies are going on, there is a use of NLP in there as well, because there are different learning styles coming into the picture. But when we do a lot of work in the organizations, it's about dynamics of individuals and groups versus groups, which are also an interplay, which is not, NLP is also a study of patterns. And it's a study of successful behavior of people. And it's a study of how can excellence be replicated. And all of these are highly relevant in today's era where it's a very performance oriented culture, and people want to be successful, are aspirational. So pretty much in any of these contexts, NLP is well suited in terms of helping people find different ways of elevating their performance in their chosen field and domain.
Right. It's like anywhere that human excellence is required,
Yes.
you can bring NLP in. Right?
Yes. It's like, for me, I think of it like a Swiss Army knife, right? That if you want to use it like a screwdriver, you can. If you want it as a bottle opener or a repair tool, whatever you want can be done. It's like a versatile discipline that helps us figure out how we can function better.
Right. I think I'm going to ask you just one last question, Nikhil, because I think we've got a very nice point in this conversation where we are talking about human excellence. And my last question to you would be, if NLP is about human excellence, how can coaches become excellent by using NLP?
Well, I'm going to come up with another music example. If you pick any of your favorite artists and you look forward to going and attending their concerts, let's say, could be a singer, could be a instrumentalist. What you're looking for, you pretty much know that they're going to play a sitar or a tabla, or they're going to sing some, drupad or something. You know what they're going to do. So a client coming into a coaching conversation knows it's going to go a certain way. I think in this, the very important thing about iterations comes into the picture with respect to excellence, right? So once I remember Ustad Zakir Hussain was asked that, by somebody else who was coming across him for the first time, that does this word Ustad mean master? So, are you a master? So he said, no, I'm not a master of this instrument, but I'm a servant of this instrument. It's just that I have made many more mistakes than anyone else has. So therefore, I have figured out better ways of playing this than what you are exposed to. And so in your experience, I might come across like a master. So I think when we look at excellence and when we look at coaching, it's an evolution, right? So even if we look at ICF credentialed coaches, from the time the first level training happens, and then maybe ACC and PCC and then MCC, there is a iterative process that is happening, and you discover that I've stopped making those mistakes now, which I used to make earlier. But I'm starting to find different kinds of difficulties which I didn't encounter before. And I often feel that excellence looks like that, right? On one hand, it might feel like confidence in one's own skills. But on the other hand, it does also create a healthy doubt, which comes from an gradually increasing standard, right? Or to use another word, because there is ICF competencies, to increasingly sort of progress in the levels of competence. So when we look at excellence and NLP is a good way to break down excellence into something which can be accessed by way of recognizing what patterns work for me, how do I change my styles and orientations, how do I listen and communicate better. And so I think it's a little bit of like a iteration or an experiment that is constantly running, and it has got nothing to do with whether you think the coaching conversation has gone well or not, because all of this coaching excellence is, if you think of the conversation as a performance, then coaching excellence and, the coach and going and getting into supervision, or coach consulting the mentor, these are like behind the scenes things that a coach does to get better at their skill of coaching, their practice of coaching. So NLP is a nice methodology, approach that can help imbibe excellence in terms of how a coach can go about it. A little bit like a sports athlete would have it, right? That even after the match is over, they know that there are certain routines of fitness, of nutrition, of drills that help them get better in the next match that they're going to go and play. So coaching and excellence and NLP, that's where I think they go in hand, that NLP can be a good enabler in terms of a coach continuing to access and continuing to pursue excellence in what they do. I think any of the coaches that have been there for a long time, they'll never say that, okay, now I've arrived and I'm an excellent coach. Now I think nobody can touch me. If you ask them, they'll always keep saying, no, I think there's still some things that I need to work on. So I think that aspect is where excellence and especially using NLP in the pursuit of excellence can play a big enabling role for coaches.
Yeah, and I think the key is really using NLP. So it's not really a knowing subject. It's a doing subject. So, you don't get excellent and then you start doing. You do it to get excellent.
Correct.
Right? And I think if someone were to start really practicing NLP as a structure or a handrail, like you said earlier, you can go beyond just knowing the notes and actually playing your coaching song differently, composing your songs really. So
absolutely, that's a nice way. Yeah, I mean it is like that. It's like if you learn Saregama or Do Re Mi, and then if you keep at it, after some point of time you will be able to make your own tunes or sing those tunes that you earlier thought you'll not be able to sing. And going through that kind of training in music gives you the access to be able to sing that way. So NLP is a way that even the competencies, it gives you a way of accessing them at a more enriched and deeper level. And then the practice of coaching can be fun because excellence doesn't need to look like something serious and difficult. It's actually fun along the way.
And the word competencies doesn't have to sound like
it's not meant to be like I remember attending this orientation for people who want to pursue the PCC credentials, and the facilitator said that P does not stand for perfect. It's even in PCC, it's like, yes, you are expected to go above a certain level, but your level will always keep evolving and growing. So that's really how it will be.
Super. I think that's a lot of conversation for the first podcast episode. Let's save up some more for the rest. And I hope that our listeners and our viewers have got a little bit of a flavor of what's coming up in our next episodes. So thank you very much, Nikhil. And with this, let's wrap up.
Thank you. Glad to have gotten these conversations started.
Yep. And all the best to us.
All the best to us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning into today's episode. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and are taking away a few insights that you can put to practice and start playing with immediately.
And also, we would urge you to spread the word and follow us on LinkedIn to know when the next episode's out. See you next time in the next episode as we continue the quest for coaching excellence. Thank you.